information. At the last council meeting, council approved the consultant to evaluate the Long Branch Police Department. I'd like to ask a couple of questions this evening to Administrator Jackson because of his extensive police background and administration background. Citing our conversation at the Insurance Commission meeting again, you described that the State Attorney General has progressive discipline procedures concerning law enforcement officials. At the last council meeting, I brought up some options, and one of them was garroting. The question now being, outside of extremely aggravating offenses, which would automatically subject a law enforcement official to disciplinary measures, being that garroting is cited in the AG guidelines, could garroting be effectuated to City of Long Branch law enforcement officials?
Well, I've never utilized or issued a garroting waiver. It's something that, to my knowledge, has to be approved by the prosecutor. A local law enforcement officer, during the course of an investigation, can't simply make that decision. And for those that are aware, if an officer is accused of a criminal act and there's a criminal investigation that's pursuing, that officer still has the ability to invoke their Fifth Amendment right and invoke, subsequent to a Miranda warning, choose not to participate or to answer questions. However, subsequent to that invocation of those rights, the employing agency can still compel the officer to answer questions as part of an administrative investigation. However, that's not a decision that is made on the local level. My knowledge of it, an assistant prosecutor would have to approve that. Mr. Raynone would know better than I. He was an assistant prosecutor.
That's correct, Mr. So a garroting warning is given to a police officer that during the course of an administrative hearing that essentially says to him, you are required to answer these questions, and the prosecutor's office can then essentially give a waiver, and anything that's used, anything that's said then in that administrative thing can't be used in a criminal case. Right. So that's what garroting is. Garroting has to do with the rights that are afforded to a police officer who's interviewed. That's all that garroting applies to.
The superiors to that police officer do have the right under garroting to ask job-related questions.
Absolutely.
And they can enforce disciplinary matters, disciplinary measures related to the answers that were job-related, including termination.
Correct, yes.
And that's independent of criminal prosecution.
It's not a criminal, it's actually administrative, but you can terminate somebody. That's the administrative part of it. What you can't use is whatever they say after giving the garroting waiver. You can't use that in a criminal case against them, so if there was a criminal prosecution. But there are lots of offenses that can get you terminated that are not criminal. I mean, there are gross behaviors that can get you terminated from being a police officer that aren't necessarily criminal behaviors.
So the bottom line is garroting can be applied to Long Branch law enforcement officials.
It is as a matter of state law, it is applied as part of the Attorney General's guidelines on internal affairs investigations that are required to be adopted by all municipalities. So garroting applies.
And
yes.
that would also include lieutenants, captains, police chiefs, and civilian directors.
Well, the answer is yes, it applies to all. It applies to all of them, yes.
All right, then why did the council go out and hire a consultant when the taxpayers could have been saved money by just inviting the Attorney General to come in and evaluate the Long Branch Police Department?
Are you asking me, Mr. Lepore?
Either the administrator...
You're asking anybody?
The administrator or Mr. Raynone. They both answered.
The answer is I don't know. The Attorney General has certain powers. They, as far as I know, they do not come in and do the kind of top to bottom management reviews of police departments. They'll come in and audit your If the county prosecutor asks them to do it, it would be the county prosecutor you'd go to first. They come in and audit your internal affairs part of it, they will do that. But they won't audit whether or not you have enough police cars, whether or not you have enough police officers, whether or not you're staffed correctly, whether or not your equipment is correct. They don't do those kind of audits. They'll only audit your internal affairs. That's the only thing that they'll do.
Right, so I mean, we're talking.
I'll conclude right now. So my point is, I believe the governing body did not bring in the Attorney General because the Attorney General, with many of the incidents as an LBPD, would rise to the concern of the State Attorney General, and they would proceed with criminal prosecution. And by hiring a consultant, we've taken a way out of that criminal prosecution to buy time for at least a year. Thank you.